Halloween
Forever.
Good day, boys and ghouls. Welcome to another freaking Minisode of Halloween is Forever. I'm Brian.
I'm Steve.
Uh-oh. Hey, wait. Did Meg get kidnapped?
No.
Is she ransomed? What happened?
No, no, it can't be ransomed. That's a totally different genre. That's not our genre.
That's true. And also, I have I'm fairly confident in saying that if Meg was kidnapped, they would try to give her back pretty quickly. They would give up on the whole, ransom idea and try to give her back because she can't be tied down, right? She can't be controlled. She's a maniac. She's going to stab somebody in the neck. There are easier kidnap victims, I'm saying.
Yeah. At some point, the loss of henchmen it just builds too much. It's a real cost loss profit thing. And
she's going to be giving everyone double clotheslines. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's going to be a problem. So, but
every time you visit the prisoner, you can't be getting suplexed.
It seems like there's easier people to kidnap, but, Megan will not be joining us today. So the boys is solo and unsupervised, and we've already almost forgot to start recording a couple times.
Rowdy time.
So we're getting rowdy, we're getting weird. It's probably going to be a fucking disaster, but this is a little bit of a fun topic. We've not done a show like this in the past. We are just going to do a little kind of 2021 recap where we're going to talk about some of our favorite new horror flicks that came out in 2021, discuss them, just kind of loosey-goosey. We are going to spoil the ever-loving shit out of them. So FYI, we are going to be spoiling all these movies in some capacity, not necessarily every little detail, but we are going to talk about things. So if you have not seen them, fair warning now. Yeah, so this should be fun. We also have our February topic to discuss because we have landed on a topic for our next showdown episode in the month of February. But before we do that, just because Meg isn't here doesn't mean we can't drink some beers. What do you got?
I have got something that's very appropriate for the time. It's the it's the Trogs Nugget Nectar.
Oh, the nectar's out. Yeah. I haven't gotten any yet. People are all horned up for that thing.
Always.
Yeah, which is funny because I've been drinking that beer for a long time. I remember when we were in college, us coming back over the PA border to try to buy up all the Nugget Nectar, and just buying cases and cases of it. And it is an absolute yummy beer. And I think about it kind of in the same way as Sierra Nevada Celebration, which is also a lovely beer, but just a fucking IPA, guys. It's fine. It's just like a slightly malty, a little bit more malty than typical West Coast IPA. That's literally all it is.
Yes, but you have to understand, you get why this is so special nowadays when every gloop glop and, haze and everything else has the same flavor profile.
Yeah.
This is definitely
it's just
why
funny.
That stands out.
It's just funny that all of a sudden people were like, "Damn, remember there's some novelty to just a clean drinkable IPA that only comes out once a year." Mm-hmm. Oh my god, dude, this is so good. I'm like, you fucking know you can get beers like this all year round from 30 breweries. I can name them. I think the idea too is when something like this comes out, then it's fresh. Right. Whereas, if you go hunt, you go look for, whatever the fuck it is, Stone IPA or something else that would kind of be in this realm, Two Hearted or whatever. It might be fresh. It might not be super fresh. And when this one hits, you grab it up and it's going to be fresh. I know that's why I make sure to buy this and Sierra Celebration and all that stuff. But I do crack up with the fact that it's dude, this beer's so fucking good. Yeah, it's good. There's tons of beers just like that are great. But in any case, I am drinking a little beer from the brewery that I talk about almost every other show, which is Notch Brewing. And I've got their beer called The Standard, which is their 12 degree. Czech pills. So I am drinking their 8 degree last night. I've got their 10 degree in the fridge I've been drinking. Now I got the 12 degree. So pretty much all I drink is various strength Czech pale lagers these days. That's essentially it. But I've got my Czech mug, and it's just, listen, it's snowy. It's a snowy weekend afternoon. You know what? It's a good day to just swig on some loggies in the house and look out the window. Although I do need to go out and shovel my driveway after we're done here, which I'm not looking forward to. But let's not worry about that, guys. Let's not worry about chores. Let's talk about some frickin' horror movies. We didn't vote. Well, I did vote, but everyone else voted too on what our topic was going to be for February. And Steve, make sure I don't screw this up. What else do we have we had horror comedy.
Horror comedy, yeah.
Right. And then big top horror, which is what I voted for. And what was the last one? Cars. Something about cars. Killer cars.
Yeah, yes, which is what I voted for.
Did you? Yeah, I would have liked that. I mean, honestly, all of them are good. But horror comedy ran away with it.
Yeah,
I think it doubled the other 2 votes, which not surprising. But again, I was kind of hopeful that we would do, because I just went and talked about killer clowns pretty much. But it is going to be horror comedy, which is an equally lovely topic. And there's a lot of fantastic movies. And I started thinking through, Steve, the one I texted you about the other night, the Boxer's Omen. Did you watch that?
I didn't get to watch it. I found it on a strange streaming website, but I couldn't find it in my other usual places I find movies.
Really? Yeah, I just found it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah, the whole movie's on YouTube.
I'll go watch it there.
But so I watched that. I watched some other real wacky shit. I watched 964 Pinocchio, like a bunch of, I just been on a tear of like just really bizarre Japanese horror, cyberpunk nonsense kind of movies.
Great.
And these movies, I'm sitting there watching it like, is this horror comedy? I feel like kind of like there's definitely a humorous element to it, you know. So we'll iron out all those details. But next month in February, we will be showing down on each other. I do not like the way that sounded. We are going to be showing down on each other. You know what I'm talking about? On some damn horror comedy, which should be really, really fun. If in the future you have any desire to help us pick these topics or suggest topics, which I did get some fun suggestions when I put out a little call for some, I think it was last week on the Instagram. Follow us over on the Instagram or on the Twitters or on the whatevers. Just search Halloween is Forever. Or if you want to shoot us an email, it's at halloweenisforeverpod@gmail.com, or just, slide into the old DMs for the Instagram or the Twitter or whatever. Typically speaking, I think everyone's kind of figured this out by now who follows us, but I run the Instagram. Steve does the Twitter. So I think most people figure that. And Meg has posted 1.5 TikToks in the last 6 months. I do not understand TikTok or know what it is. And pretty much Facebook is just stuff that we post from Instagram and Twitter. So those are pretty much the places to find us, Instagram and Twitter. We act like we do all the other shit. We don't. That's pretty much it. But in any case, if you want to vote for these things, we put those polls up on Instagram and on Twitter, so you can vote. Also, maybe needless to say, but the offer still remains. If you write us a review, and which I think you can write reviews on Spotify now, which I still haven't looked at that, or on certainly Apple Podcasts. If you write us a review, give us the appropriate number of stars or fucking thumbs up or whatever. Shoot me a little DM, and I'll send you some stickers, some Halloween's Forever stickers in the old mailbox. Cool. All right, let's get into some motherfucking movies. We tried to pick ones that, ones we haven't talked about already at length on the show, like, for example, Candyman, which I don't know that Candyman would have been on my list of like my favorite ones of the year. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Halloween Kills, right? We didn't really not that necessarily would have been on my list either. But we're not going to talk about that stuff because we already have full blown ass episodes on those. Which go back in the feed, listen to them. They're fun shows. We're going to talk about some ones that we haven't really chatted up on the show here next. So, is there one you want to jump into first? Because there's a couple we've both seen, and then there's a few we're going to talk about that only you or I have seen.
Right. I think we would be best served by hitting a movie that we didn't. We only mentioned in passing a couple times, and I think I mentioned on another podcast because I had just seen Basket Case.
Oh yeah,
and it's very relevant to this.
yeah.
Like the podcast was about Basket Case, but I had just seen this movie right before it, and yeah, Malignant.
Yeah.
Wow, what a surprise.
It was such a fucking fun movie. I had a blast with that movie, and you know what? It just was all over the place in terms of teasing, kind of undercutting, and then ultimately surpassing my expectations. In that, so it's a James Wan. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Did James Wan direct it, or was he just a producer?
He directed it.
Did he direct it? Okay.
Yeah,
because I watched another movie recently, and I forgot. Oh no! I'm watching that Archive 81, and he's like a producer, I think, on that. But he didn't direct it. But yeah, Malignant he directed, and so I'm not I don't dislike James Wan movies, but I'm not super into all his different the Conjuring universe and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So
he's had a wild career so far.
Yeah,
because obviously he started with Saw, which we all know, and then he landed Insidious. Which I think the first Insidious. Yeah. I think that's probably
the one that I think of the most. I think of have the most positive feelings about of his movies prior to this one.
Yeah, and then he got Fast and the Furious 7 and Aquaman.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah,
so fucking strange. He goes from not obscure. I mean, they were decent budget movies. Obviously, the Saw franchise became a big iconic franchise. But then to go to the two biggest and frankly just broiest of movie franchises in Fast and the Furious and a Marvel movie, come on, it's got fucking Jason Momoa in it and Vin Diesel and The Rock in the other one or whatever. I don't even know. I haven't watched any of the Fast and the Furious movies since I think the second one. I think I Tokyo drifted one time. That's literally all I know about that franchise. I watched the first one. I don't know anything about them. They look fucking terrible. I'm sure they're entertaining enough, but
yeah, no, it is just background noise you shut off. When you need to escape, it's just the same as Marvel movies and everything. It's just
the
noise.
Transformer films and shit like that. Yeah.
It's just noise.
Yeah.
Yep.
But he's been all over the damn place.
Yeah. It's just but like you were saying, it's just funny to go from these horror movies to this super bro testosterone stuff.
Yeah.
But then after that he still makes Malignant, which is such a I don't know. I would suggest go watching Red Letter Media, their review of Malignant, because they have some interesting takes about it. And
I have not yet. You told me that before, and I still haven't done it.
I'm just saying to the audience as well. Go watch that.
Wait, there's an audience?
Yeah. There's
oh, Jesus Christ! You just tell me this now.
There's a couple people. I think Meg will get this episode eventually. And
I shouldn't just be wearing, which you can't see, but I'll show Steve. I'm just wearing long underwear. I'm wearing white long underwear, top and bottom, and then a flannel over the top.
That is the most Midwest thing I've seen today, and I'm not.
Guys, just be thankful there is no video feed for my saggy draws. But yeah, so it's just such a wild movie. Let's do this one more time. Let's reminder that we're about to spoil the living shit out of this movie, and this is a movie that you don't want to spoil. So, if you haven't seen it and you care at all, shoot forward a couple minutes, because there is definitely going to be spoilers abound in a movie that doesn't deserve to be spoiled. I thought the thing that I loved about this, and I saw other people talking about it, is it reminded me of a conversation we had on the show. I don't remember what episode it was, but we were talking about how I love campy movies, but I don't like movies that are trying to be campy necessarily. Sometimes they pull it off, sometimes they don't. But I tend to like ones where they're like a little bit more earnest, you know, and the camp comes from budget restrictions or people being bad at their job, you know, things like that. But this movie honestly does something very different than both of those, because it's obviously extremely well-made movie, and it delivers on this weird campy twist, but in a self-aware way, but it does not feel necessarily like tongue-in-cheek, wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah. It does, but it doesn't. It takes it like ridiculously seriously, and just I don't know. It's just, it feels earnest, although it is not. There is nothing accidental about the movie. You know what
Absolutely
I mean?
not. No.
Yeah.
It is so expensive. Like for a horror film, this is wildly expensive.
What was the budget? Do you
just anything, just the way it looks, like, because you can see
I'm sure it is.
You can just see it all on the stages, the sets.
Yeah,
it is.
I imagine just an enormous amount of. Obviously, there's quite a bit of CGI in the movie, but it doesn't feel over the top. No, it does feel over the top, but it feels natural. Yeah, it's way over the top. I shouldn't say that, but it feels kind of natural.
It feels natural because, again, the size of the budget. Like it feels. I'm guessing it's probably like possibly a $10 to $20 million budget on this.
Yeah, possibly. That would sound fair. You would know better than me, but it's so. I heard all these things about this movie, right? And I was a little late to the game seeing it. I think I saw it like a month after it came out, or 3 weeks after it came out. So everyone was already talking about it, but I didn't get any spoilers, which was great. But I did get this, you just fucking wait. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people like, wait, there's this crazy, you know, I don't even know if somebody necessarily said there was like a twist, because I wouldn't even necessarily, it is a twist, but it's not M. Night Shyamalan-y twist. You know what I mean? Right. It's kind of, after seeing it and then going back, they give you all the breadcrumbs, you know what I mean, to kind of figure out what's going on a little bit. They just don't tell you how to kind of put them together or follow them, I guess. And then so it lures you into a false sense of security, or not a false sense of security. It lures you into thinking that this is just going to kind of be like I said, I knew it wasn't going to be boring. I knew there was some sort of big twist thing, but it's still like halfway through, I'm like, is it really gonna come? You know what I mean? Like, what's happening here? Like, not that I didn't enjoy it, but
yeah, and I think it's mostly because like the opening sequence is so disconnected. The opening sequence is so much B horror movie, and I think one of my favorite memes that I saw come like after this movie came out was like somebody posted the still frame of like, remember how Aqua Teen started with the castle and Dr. Weird and Steve,
with the lightning striking and all that.
Somebody posted that and just said Malignant 2021. I'm like, that's
what it felt like.
Yeah, that's how it begins. It begins. Well,
that's what you knew it was going to happen, because it starts out like that. You're like, oh fuck, this is going to get wild, and then for the next hour, it's well made and it's entertaining, but just it's completely disconnected from what that intro was for the most part.
Right.
And there's all these, you know, supernatural, she's seeing these murders happen, but it's almost it almost reminded me of Dead Zone or something like that. And then all of a sudden, holy fucking shit, you learn that she has basically like a homunculus kind of situation.
Yeah.
Siamese, not a Siamese twin, but a conjoined type of twin. What do they call it?
She has a quado.
Yeah,
she has
a
quado out the back of her head.
Full-blown ass quado on the back of her head. Which might be a shirt, by the way, full-blown quado.
I was totally wrong. I was off by about 20 million.
Yeah,
it's a $40 million movie.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's but yeah, it's on the screen. I mean, you could tell this was not a cheap little independent flick, right? But Yeah, she's got a full-blown quado. She's got a damn person on the back of her head that kind of takes control of her brain, and then she kind of phases in and out of the consciousness of she has a conjoined sibling that they share a brain.
Right.
So they go back and forth from who is controlling their brain, and when the Quado sibling on the back of her head's controlling the brain, she walks in reverse and does all of her crazy, later, almost Matrix-like or later Resident Evil movie-like fighting moves. Backwards, everything backwards, joints, everything, which is fucking rad. I mean,
it really is.
To go from this weird supernatural Dead Zone type of thing to a full-on weird reverse fight scene, and the way that her hair, obviously she has hair on the back of her head, but like they just kind of pull the hair to the side so it looks like it's like parted down the middle for the Quado twin. It's just fucking strange. And the face is like really small too. And when I used to work in haunted houses and stuff, we were in college, my cousin had this costume that he would wear when we worked in these houses, as like haunt actors. And it was like a little shrunken head, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's what it reminded me of so much every time I saw it.
It reminds me of like the covers for, I think it's the original Ring, where it's just like the black hair over a face and then just the eye peering out and everything. Yeah, it's just that, but it's a little monster man.
Yeah, it's a little monster with like little weird teeth and stuff. Yeah. It's fucking wild. So
it's so bizarre that they I love it. Because, I mean, I just love the movie because it's so like reckless. Like I said, it's
I love that they spent $40 million on a little tiny Quado head movie.
It's $40 million of recklessness, and it's just like people were super mad about it, and I love that. And like James Wan spent $40 million to make like a B movie.
Yeah,
and he didn't even really drag any. Not to say like the people who are in the movie are bad actors or anythanything.
No,
but like nobody who's in the movie is like super big at the moment.
No, it's not Jennifer Lawrence or something. As the lead. Yeah, it's all the money is in the effects, the animation, the CGI animation and all that sort of stuff. So
and just like wild, huge sets.
Yeah,
that house is huge. The police station is huge for some reason, which you find out is purposeful later. Like the only reason it's huge is so they can have a huge fight scene. Fucking
wild ass fight scene, Matrix style fucking fight scene. Yeah,
and then the that underground Seattle, the old.
Oh
Seattle,
yeah, I forgot about that.
That and it's such a weird thing to put in a movie, but it's also like so much to put in a movie because I'm assuming they built more giant ass sets of this not pre-colonial, but like pre-1900s, I think. Yeah, Seattle that wound up like just falling into disrepair, and they built the city on top of it, which is like a real thing. Like you can do, tours.
Oh yeah. I've never done them, but I've seen people post stuff online about it or whatever. But yeah, it's just I agree that's the most attractive thing about it, is that it does feel like a kind of just a fuck you movie. Yeah. I'm going to spend $40 million on the stupidest movie in the world. Not that it's stupid. It's really entertaining and well done, but just on the stupidest concept in the world, I guess. I just watched I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Now, this is not even close. This is like a really low budget, stupid thing, but the concept just reminds me of it. Have you ever seen Butt Boy?
Yeah.
I just watched Butt Boy the other day, and I'm just like, this is not that far off. Like, obviously a little bit, but it just feels like somebody spending $40 million on Butt Boy.
Right, yeah.
And you actually see him going up in, the
colon
tract.
And everything, and then there's like people living in the colon. Sorry if we're spoiling Butt Boy for you, but we told you ahead of time. There's spoilers. We didn't say for which movies.
Sorry, we spoiled Butt Boy. But it would be fantastic if James Wan remade $40 million remake of Butt Boy. If it was a Make-A-Wish situation, and I was like. I'm trying to fit like anything. You can ask anything. Yeah. I would be like, James Wan, will you remake Butt Boy for $40 million? I'm laying there half dead on like a gurney. Remake my boy.
Make my boy.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the hell. We could probably talk about Malignant for an hour.
Oh, for sure.
It was so fun, but
yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. Just, I don't know, at this point, if you don't know, to not get mad at the movie, because I think that's one of the things. People went in looking for the next Annabelle or the Nun or whatever, and I think a lot of people marketed this movie as like an American Giallo, which there's elements of. There's elements
I can see that.
Yeah. But that's not what it is. It's a monster movie.
Right. Full on, that's like disguised in a little bit of like a supernatural mystery type of thing. Mm-hmm. And then it goes full on crazy, wacky monster creature feature type of thing.
Yeah.
So fun. I find I haven't seen a lot of negativity about it. But I imagine the people who are diehard fans of like Annabelle and stuff like that, which is maybe not to shit on those movies. They're really well made, and if you like them, you like them. Like they're just not my cup of tea. So I think a lot of people that I interact with are more, dirtballs like me that watch just absolute bullshit, and they appreciated this, I think, more than some of the other stuff that he does.
Probably a little bit of a generational thing, because like I think James Wan is probably like around our age, if not, I think he's probably a little bit older than us.
Yeah, he's probably in his 40s or something, maybe.
So like he's had experience with this, and generationally, a lot of kids have grown up with these super clean films like The Conjuring and Annabelle and Insidious. You have like this super clean horror, but this movie is a total throwback to, like, I mean, I mentioned it at the top, Basket Case. This is $40 million Basket Case.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can definitely see a lot of similarities there.
Yeah,
and it doesn't lose the charm. That's the thing that I like about it. Like Basket Case, it's now that come to think of it, one of the things I really love about Basket Case is, again, it's a low budget, obviously B movie type of thing, but they managed to make something with no money. A weird stop motion rubber doll that has no personality. They made it creepy and scary. And in this instance, they took something that should be super stupid,
right,
and made it really cool. But they made it. It took $40 million to make it look shitty and cool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you turn Basket Case inside out.
Right.
That's what this movie is. Yeah.
There's so many. The Quado's name is Gabriel. Like there's so many different elements that went into.
I like that we're just calling him a Quado.
Yeah,
now.
it's a Quado.
That's a species. Quado.
Species of Quado. But there's so many little things that went into making it work effectively. So like there was an animatronic puppet. There is the CGI. For when the super big stunts, but then like also you're hiring stunt actors to do the backwards fighting, because like they did do some of it practically. So it's like he put in a lot of work into making this dumb concept work, and it's great.
The scene, the reveal of the face in the jail cell, and then just starts ripping apart all the other inmates, is just so fucking cool.
So great.
First of all, I'm a sucker for any scene in a holding cell like that. You know what I mean? Like just a classic, like, every 80s movie I feel like had this scene of like somebody who's doesn't fit you wouldn't imagine being in like the holding cell downtown kind of thing with all the sex workers and drunks and people that got picked up off the street. Like every sitcom had that. You know what I mean? Like I can't remember specifically, but I guarantee you there's a Family Matters episode where Urkel is in a freaking holding cell with you know what I mean? And they took that super trite, kind of trite trope, my goodness, and then the alliterations through the roof, and then spent $1 bajillion to make it the most like fucking epic scene.
That jail cell looks so anachronistically populated. Like the dregs of the 70s are some reason in this 2021 jail. but like it all works. It's an amazing scene.
It's like you went to 1972 Times Square and just rounded up some people and stuck them in.
Everybody in the time machine.
Pretty much from fucking
from Basket Case. Yeah. He went to the streets of Basket Case. Everybody in. All right, everybody in the time machine.
Come on. You want to get tore up? All right, come on over.
We'll get you back in no time, but I'll give you some pizza and a couple bucks.
All right, we got to get off Malignant, or else this is just going to turn into a full Malignant episode.
Malignant cast.
You want me to talk about one?
Sure, go ahead. What's something you saw in 2021?
I saw a little flick called "My Heart Can't Beat Unless You Tell It To," which, when I heard that title, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, is this going to be some like really like artsy fartsy, like wannabe A24 shit? Like, it's going to be over the top. But, and to a certain extent, it was a little bit, but it was really, really, really well done. So, I'm wondering if I should read a little synopsis or something like this in the movie, because it is a fairly, hard to describe plot. Not really. I'll do it in a nutshell instead of reading this. So essentially it's these three siblings, two brothers and their sister. The sister seems like perhaps the oldest of the lot. She's definitely runs the show. She definitely is kind of the responsible one, if you will, but they are like extremely kind of insular family unit, the three of them. And you come to realize pretty darn quickly, again, spoilers, because I think there is some value in, if you haven't seen this, going in blind, which I knew going in that it was a vampire flick, but I did not know anything else about it.
Yeah.
I just knew it was kind of a unique vampire flick.
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and I was able to glean that much from it, that it was like either some sort of zombie or vampire type of curse thing going on.
Right. So they're young. I think it's the youngest brother. He is a vampire. He is kind of like sickly, like not aggressive. He's very kind of like sweet and innocent and like repressed and sheltered to a point where he has like very, very low social IQ kind of. And his two, again, I don't know the ages, but I'm just going to assume older siblings are kind of taking care of him a little bit. And they have to bring him blood. And they go out and kind of prey on vulnerable people in the community, whether it be, sex workers or homeless people, whatever, and like brutally murder them and basically feed them to their younger brother.
Damn.
Or else he's going to die. And it's like, we don't want to do this. They hate doing it. The younger brother is the one who's kind of being, I don't want to say manipulated, because he's certainly his own, person who makes his own decisions, but he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
He doesn't want to let his brother die, but he doesn't want to do it anymore. And the sister is the one who is kind of, you go back and forth between thinking of her as almost like a villain in some way, because this kid, her brother, he has no quality of life. You feel really bad for him. He wants to go out and play with other kids. He's not a kid. He reminds me of a Michael Jackson type character, character where he is obviously, I would say, like, supposed to be in his like late teens or 20s, maybe even older than that. He looks very young. I forget what the actor's name, but he was in like what was the name of that movie? Very Dark Times or something like that. Boy, what was the name of it? Here, I'll look it up real quick. Thomas something or other, but he's really good. He is
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. No. Tim Thomas. You said Timothy Chalamet. I was like, Thomas is his name in the movie. Owen Campbell is his name. And he is in Super Dark Times is the name of the movie. If you've ever seen that one, that's a really good one too. He's really the only person here I recognized. But he wants to go out and he's very like baby face. He looks really young. Anyway, he wants to go out and like play with children and stuff like that, but they have to keep inside. Of course, he can't be in the sunlight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like this take on terminal illness, you know what I mean? And like having like a family member that's terminally ill that you have to like sacrifice all this for to take care of. And the brother like wants to kind of live his life, and he certainly doesn't want to kill people anymore.
Right.
But the sister is like, no, you have to do this. We have to do this. And it's pretty you kind of feel empathetic for everyone involved, because and it eventually ends in a pretty tragic way. And it's certainly not a feel good movie. You're not going to walk out like you walked out from Malignant going, oh fuck, that was rad. This is like pretty dark, pretty kind of it's not slow necessarily, but it does do a lot of those kind of like lingering shots that really drive home the kind of like melancholy nature of their existence. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just thought it was really very unique, interesting take on the kind of vampire lore, where the vampire is the most sympathetic character in the movie.
Right.
So, but it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, it sounds like something I want to watch. I mean, I did watch the trailer. It's just I haven't gotten around to it. So yeah, there's too many movies, but
yeah, I know. We were talking about this. I think in 2020, I was watching stuff like crazy. I mean, a lot of tons of free time in 2020 for a lot of us and stuff. Not to say there wasn't that much in 2021, but I just was like 2020. I was like ravenously consuming every new movie that came out, and then this past year in 2021, I feel like I just went back and watched a bunch of old movies.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't watch as many new movies, but there were a lot of great stuff that came out, but I absolutely didn't watch as many new movies last year as I did the prior year.
Yeah. And there was just such a deluge of films that came out as well in 2021 because like productions were set back.
Yeah.
And like I'm thinking of a movie now that like I watched and it's kind of horror adjacent. So I'll talk about it real quickly. Movie called Silent Night. And it's a black comedy with Keira Knightley. Okay. And basically it's set at, there's this force, this cloud that's going around the world, just killing everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's about like a bunch of families sheltering in place at this vacation home, waiting basically for the world to end. But it's very like dark and humorous in the way that they're trying to ignore everything around them. They're trying to ignore the end coming. They're just trying to have Christmas. It sounds
really familiar now that you said this.
Yeah.
But
and the story overall isn't like terribly revolutionary or anything, but it's it's amusing. It's a fun watch, but it's also very of the time. And I also just found it interesting because the way it read, I was reading about it because it felt like something that was made during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But it actually seems like it was filmed before the pandemic, but it was finished.
It's kind of a happy accident.
Yeah, but it was finished afterwards. So it was filmed mostly in 2019, but then finished 2021. So
gotcha.
Interesting film. I'd say check it out.
Yeah, I will. I'm a big Christmas horror fan. You know this, so I gotta check it out. I will watch Christmas horror movies all year long. I don't give a shit.
I think you'll like it. But a film that definitely was of like the pandemic time that I wanted to talk about was In the Earth, which was directed by Ben Wheatley. A Field in England.
You and your goddamn Ben Wheatley. I've come to really like him, actually. My first introduction to him was when you forced us to watch the fucking
A Field in England.
Such a bizarre movie, which I'm going to go back and rewatch because I really enjoyed it, and I still haven't went back and rewatched it. But
yeah, I think In the Earth you'll find a lot of the similar themes as A Field in England. Maybe you won't get as much out of it as you would his other stuff. Did you see High Rise?
No, you were telling me about that. That's like his action one, right?
No, that's Free Fire.
Oh, okay.
But both
I haven't seen either.
Both.
yeah.
But the film he put out in 2021 was In the Earth, and it very much feels like a pandemic movie because it's a super small cast. It's very limited. The film itself is about like scientists working out in the woods they're investigating plants because they're trying to find a cure to a pandemic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty relevant.
Yeah, very relevant. And it just descends into like,
spoiler alert, no one will take it.
No. That's why they're trying to find it in plants. If you do it holistically, as we're finding that CBD and weed apparently stops COVID.
That's the only reason I haven't got it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's very possible. But again, also like a field in England, because there was only like 5 people in it. So yeah, this is like a 6-person cast, and you actually spend more time with just like 4 people out in the woods. It's like a park ranger and a scientist, and then you just have these 2 competing forces of science and like ritualistic nature, and they're represented by 2 different people of, you know, split ideologies. And then it ends in a weird, a very, very weird fashion, as Ben Wheatley is tend to do. So.
Yeah, that'll suck me in, because I like any. If you just tell me this movie gets fucking weird, I'm a sucker for it. Yeah, you could tell me anything and I would watch it.
Yeah, it gets weird, and then it ends very, very weird. It ends in, you know, very similar to the way A Field in England had that very trip scene.
Yeah,
there's a very trip scene at the end of this film as well. So,
okay,
yeah,
is it have that similar kind of psychedelic kind of feel? Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I also just wanted to bring this movie up though because of what Ben Wheatley's next film is, and I don't know if you saw what was announced, what he's directing next.
No,
he's directing Meg 2.
The Meg 2, like Meg 2. The giant shark.
Yes. Jason Statham's The Meg 2.
Is this a joke? Is
No.
this a horrible joke? How does that make any fucking sense?
I don't know, and I'm super excited.
Unless the shark, like, is on LSD or something like that, that's the only way this fucking makes sense. Because and so I watched The Meg on a plane. So like that gives you a little bit of like it's I only watch these like big crazy disasters, like the most recent Godzilla movies. I watch them all on planes.
Sure.
So I watched The Meg on a plane, and I was like, God damn it, this movie's stupid, but like it made this flight go fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how the fuck does Ben Wheatley end up with The Meg 2?
I don't know, and that's why I'm excited. It's called Meg 2: The Trench.
Okay, so now I'm starting to. Okay, so they're deep in this like super trippy undersea. So they're gonna have like these weird bioluminescent alien fish and shit like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. Maybe the shark is bioluminescent. Who fucking knows? There's so many opportunities for this to go super malignant weird.
That's what I'm saying. I hope they go bonkers with it. Yeah. I mean, I don't have super high hopes, but that would be fantastic if they did.
Yeah.
That's honestly, if you would have gave me 24 hours and said, name every movie. This is a movie that came out in the last few years that Ben Wheatley's doing the sequel of.
Right.
And your life depends on guessing it, I would be dead.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be
bizarre.
Like The Lighthouse too. I don't know.
Literally, yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is exactly where my head would go. It would be something like The Lighthouse.
Yeah,
and you would complete opposite.
You would start naming like all these weird, Hereditary too. Just a whole bunch of things that he didn't have anything to do with, but he's close enough to, like Mandy 2. Is he?
Yeah. Mandy 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
I'm baffled by that.
It's great.
I will see it 100% now. But all right. Let's go on to the next one. So the next one that I went. So this is one. It's kind of tricky in the last couple of years when you talk about like release dates and when stuff came out, because you always have like those, especially like little indie films that like they debut at like a festival somewhere, and then they don't actually end up getting picked up for any type of theatrical release or even a streaming release for maybe a year, 2 years after. But this is one that was debuted at a couple of festivals back in 2019, but I don't think it had any type of significant theatrical release, and then it got released in February 2021 on streaming. It's Jordan Graham's Sator, Sator. And I watched this right when it came out. I think it was streaming on Shudder or one of those things, but it's streaming. I think it's now out on I think you can watch it on Tubi.
I keep passing over it on Prime, I believe. So
yeah. So it looks. The reason I watched it, that's why I think that I watched it on Shudder, is I typically, and again, this year not as much, but I will typically watch like whatever new kind of stuff pop up on Shudder. This one, I think that's why I watched it, because this is a movie that is not, I mean, it hasn't really had any degree of marketing in any real way. There's been some like good kind of word of mouth around it, but the imagery of the movie, if you see it, feels very humdrum. Like you look at some of the imagery, if you Google image this movie, you would be like, I've seen movies like that. Okay. You know what I mean? But it's done really, really well. It's a slow burn. It's extremely kind of moody flick for sure. And the high points of it are not, it doesn't have a crazy tagline. It doesn't have a crazy, plot. So not, you know what I mean? It's not, it's not like the when you say like it has a crazy ending, you got to go watch it. The thing that really, it's a combination of like great sound design, really, really atmospheric cinematography that communicates a lot about the film, but you have to be in the mood for kind of a slow burn. Okay. So but there are some really genuinely creepy parts as well. And I think some of Jordan Graham, I don't think he's really done a whole lot else of note. He has a couple of other directing credits, writing and directing credits that I think are stuff that personally I'm not familiar with and doesn't seem to have a lot of notoriety online, but this one was really, really good. So he wrote it, he produced it, he directed it. Clocks in at under an hour and a half, so it's a relatively quick watch, but it does burn pretty slow. I would, not thematically, not story wise, but did you watch a couple years ago maybe Hagazusa that came out?
No, that's another one that's like perpetually just on a list that gets cycled.
It reminded me of that in the sense that, again, not same thematically. I mean, Hagazusa is like a period piece, and this is modern. But my point is, like, it has this very like a lot of like ambient kind of droning sound design that's really adds to the atmosphere of it. It's not quite as abrasive as Hagazusa, but it just reminded me of that in that way. So I'll really quick to the point synopsis here on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'll read it real quick. But secluded in a desolate forest, a broken family is observed by the demon Sator, who is attempting to claim them. So it is a pretty almost folk horror type of thing, where this demon is, has been like tormenting this family and is trying to, I don't know, you never really know, take their souls, whatever the fuck demons do. But it's just really slow burn, really like building of dread kind of thing. And there's some really great scenes with the kind of main character's grandmother, I think it is. Not his mother. I think it's his grandmother, where she is kind of like, they never really come out and say, but I think she's maybe suffering from like Alzheimer's or something like that. She's definitely got dementia or Alzheimer's, but she is still very aware of this demon that's in their life and in the lives of their family, and the way she talks about it is really, really creepy. And I feel like she's not an actor. She's like it's almost like somebody brought their actual grandma or something in, and it just makes it they just pull it off. Right. It's super real, it's super creepy, and just a really fun kind of atmospheric slow burn horror that like there's so many people trying to do right now, because they can be very cheap to make, and they're very like, there's a lot of filmmakers that are going like watching these more artsy type of horror movies and going, I could make that, and then they do a really bad job of it. This just is really well pulled off. I feel like,
this new kind of slow burn, and then not necessarily trying to make it heady, because I think the filmmakers realize their script isn't as heady as these A24 things.
Yeah.
But there's a production value that you don't need. There's another film you were talking about it, and I forget what year it was even from, and I forget the name, and I'm terrible at this. But
what was it about?
It's about a guy who has assumedly locked the devil into his basement, and then his family comes to visit him, and like it's very clear that like he's losing his mind.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You're not talking about We're Still Here.
No.
We're Still Here. Yeah.
No.
No, that's not Locked in the Basement. That's more like Haunting in the House kind of thing. That sounds super familiar though.
Yeah. I Trapped the Devil. There you go.
Oh yeah. I saw that one.
So yeah, it's very similar to that. The next film I wanted to bring up also has like a lot of the same kind of thematic, like being a slow burn and playing more with like psychological stuff, is Blood Conscious, and that came out in 2021.
Yeah.
So this one, I like this film a lot, and it's very simple in that it's basically just, it starts with 3 people going, and they're just on a trip out to cabins. Like they're on their way. They're talking about how there's just, their families are all vacationing out there. So it's a brother and a sister, and the sister's fiance. Yeah. And they're all headed out that way to go vacation. And when they get there, they find that the entire lakeside vacationing plot has like been killed. Like everybody. Oh. Just like, just families dead all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Sure.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they find a guy.
That'll ruin the whole vacation.
Right. It'll
just put a dark clown over the whole vacation.
Real super bummer. And then they're confronted with the guy who killed them all. And the guy who killed them all, like, is saying that they all turned into demons.
Oh, Jesus.
So you...
That's not what I expected you to say. I thought it was going to be like some like natural phenomena type of thing, or, no, but it's just one dude.
Yeah, it's just one dude, and like you get confronted, like, so it's also worth noting that like the family is black, so it doesn't take on the full like deep racial commentary that like a Get Out would, or Us.
Yeah. I was gonna say it sounds a little bit like Us, a little bit,
but like it's obviously part of the subtext.
Gotcha.
Of like, because I believe everybody that the family's confronted with is white. So like the guy who shot everybody around them, the mass shooter, he's white. And then they come in contact with a survivor, and she's white. And then there's just, she turns basically into a Karen without being like hit on the head nose. But like she's being very much a Karen and like a antagonist to them despite surviving this mass shooting. And so the whole movie is playing with the psychology of like, were these people actually demons? Obviously they don't want to believe it, because part of the people, the victims were their mother and father who were killed. So and it goes back and forth.
But they're not like, so the people who did the murdering are not like fully unhinged seeming.
Oh no, the guy seems completely off his rocker, because he's claiming that he shot demons, but like he shot their mother and father, and like they weren't there for the events. They arrive after the events happened. So it's trying to piece together what happened. And he also like, he takes them at gunpoint as well. So they weren't prepared for that. And there's a lot of back and forth of like, him being captured and then him coming back. And then you start to get scary things in the woods. And, like, I don't want to spoil too much about it, because I think it's, a pretty good. And then the ending is, it's good enough. It's satisfying in a way. Yeah. It could, could be a sequel. It doesn't have to be, type thing. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's a little open-ended.
Yeah. But I think it's a good film, because it is, social commentary wise, it is a little higher elevated than just your average horror film. So there is that thoughtfulness about, how do people interact with each other, but it's not full on as, probably not as developed as like Get Out. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's been on my to watch list on Letterboxd for a while, and it's just like, haven't pulled the trigger yet.
But also, it's obviously very low budget because you don't. There's not $40 million thrown at a demon, so.
Yeah, listen, we don't all have $40 million to throw at a demon. Right. So the next one that I was going to talk about is again one that I think was released maybe for a festival or something like that in 2020, but ultimately the streaming release happened in 2021, which was Boys from County Hell, which I haven't seen a lot of buzz about, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. It's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I watch a bunch of shit movies, and I watch a lot of movies that like people are like, oh, you gotta watch this is great, and I watch them like, oh, okay, whatever.
Let me ask you, movies, is this movie Irish?
It is.
Okay, good, because that's a very strong Pogues reference. If nobody knows that's a Pogues reference.
Yes, it is. It is very Irish. So it's directed by, I think the way you would pronounce it is Chris Baugh. Again, nothing else I've seen from this guy. This is, I don't know if I would probably call it a horror comedy. It's not horror comedy in the sense that Shaun of the Dead is a horror comedy, right. But it definitely has a lot of levity, a lot of funny lines, a lot of kind of patter between the main characters that are like a kind of a group of friends. In any case, I'll read the synopsis real quick because I think, holy shit, it's long. But so strange events unfold in 6 Mile Hill, a sleepy Irish town that claims to have been traveled by famed author Bram Stoker when construction on a new road disrupts the alleged grave of a Barach. I don't know. That's the closest I'm going to get to the pronunciation. A legendary Irish vampire said to have inspired Dracula. Deadly and sinister forces terrorize the work crew led by Francie Moffat and his son Eugene, a free-spirited young man who prefers pints to pickaxes. My God, this is a little bit over the top description. And they're forced to fight to survive the night while exposing the true horror that resides in the town's local myth. So that was very lyrical and over the top. But what it is basically they have this kind of very rural Irish countryside where they have this kind of I guess grave site or whatever of what's supposed to be this ancient vampire, and they have a lot of tourists that come out to this area because it's supposed to, their local legend is that it inspired Bram Stoker to write Dracula. And they like to fuck with the tourists and scare them and shit like that when they come out to this random, it almost looks like it's out in the moor or something. I know that's Scottish, but that's kind of what it looks like.
I mean, you're essentially just evoking, a werewolf in London.
Yeah, it feels like the setting from American Werewolf in London to a certain extent. But ultimately, there's supposed to be this big highway that's coming through, and it's going to bring all types of jobs and prosperity to this little tiny rustic kind of downtrodden town. So they're pressured to knock down this monument to make way for it, and they ultimately do, which, as you might imagine, summons some motherfucking vampires. So it's definitely has kind of Shaun of the Dead vibes in that I wouldn't say it's like a buddy comedy kind of feel to it, but it is definitely a good mix. And this is what I like the most about it is of kind of funny, clever, quick dialogue with some like genuinely hectic, scary, high tension moments.
Would you say it's more like a Guy Ritchie film?
Yeah, I like
with like
that description a little bit.
The banter that's like in Snatch and Lock and Stock.
Yeah, I was literally gonna say, like, take Snatch and add some vampires. Yeah, you're not too far off. They're not criminals. You know, It doesn't have that like wannabe Get Carter kind of feel to it, but it definitely has a lot of banter between, a lot of quick-witted banter. I'm also, a sucker for I'm kind of an Anglophile, admittedly. So anything like English, Irish, kind of like charm to it, I always like. But it's a contemporary story. And yeah, the people just seem very kind of genuine, and they're not unreal. They're very realistic characters. It's just like a group of friends who, like, the one friend's dad owns a construction company or whatever, and so they're just like, I guess we got to work for the, you know what I mean? They don't really know what the fuck they're doing. They're just like, kind of, there's a coming of age narrative kind of under the surface too, and there's a lot of like kind of fun, almost. I would. Don't think it's out, speaking out of school to say there's probably some like Evil Dead type of influence here, where there's a lot of like kind of wacky action scenarios that play out that are like kind of scary, intense, and then get interrupted with like a moment of levity.
Okay.
So
cool.
It's fun. It's a fun watch. It'll keep your attention. And I don't know, just never saw anybody talk about it. So I figured it was probably worth bringing up. It stuck in my head.
I think of the ones you've mentioned so far today, that one you've sold me the most on. I'm gonna go check that one out first. I'm gonna check out all the ones we've talked about, but
yeah. There's a couple that were on the list that we were gonna talk about. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna watch that this week, and I never did. So, well, cool. What do you got?
I don't know. I got a whole bunch that like Blood Red Sky. I thought was pretty good. Go see that. Titan. I want to suggest Superbad, but I don't want to talk about, because that's another film that you should watch completely cold.
That's what you told me. And I actually was going to watch it last night.
Mm-hmm.
And full disclosure, I got sucked into watching that fucking Green Bay San Francisco game, which I'm glad I watched because it was fun. And there was an upset right at the end. But then once it was over, I'm like, I'm too tired to start a movie right now.
Especially a French one where you have to you have to read. So
yeah, I just didn't have the attention span at that point.
Yeah, that movie is so fucking wild, but I can't say anything.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it tonight.
It's also horror tangential. I wouldn't call it a full horror, but
okay. I know nothing about it, so that's why I'm like, I'm kind of glad you're not talking about it, because I do want to go into totally blind, because that's what you told me to do. So
I just want to put that out for everybody. Go see it. So I guess the one I'll wrap up on is as far as movies I saw that you didn't see. Nobody Sleeps in the Woods 2 came out.
Yeah, I didn't watch it yet. Well, I remember I really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah. I think if you enjoyed the first one, you'll really enjoy the second one. The second one picks up right as the first one ended, which I always love in films. Like we just talked about Dead Snow, and Dead Snow 2 picks up right after Dead Snow, and I like that.
Right.
Same thing on this one. And then it takes a hard fucking left that I did not expect.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I like that because the first one kind of did that a little bit, where you thought it was just going to be like a straightforward slasher, and then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, space aliens. All right. Space they were like parasites or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a black ooze that infected people. So I don't know how much I want to give away, but I guess I'll have to. Go ahead. The heroine of the first film, is she becomes a monster. She gets infected.
Sick.
Yeah. And then it takes this. It just takes this turn of humanizing the monsters in a way.
Weird.
Yeah. But they're still like totally fucking like destroying everything and.
Humanizing her as a monster, or humanizing the big Billy Bacon?
So those guys actually get put in jail for a good portion, a hard portion of the film. Like, yeah.
Usually aliens don't, like, jail doesn't work great on aliens.
So like, yeah, that's where the film picks up. It picks up, at the end of one, and you had, I believe it's the end of one, you had the one girl and the one fat killer, like, in a cabin, and it starts with the cops rolling up on that cabin and arresting everybody. And then,
so wait, was the big giant, because they were enormous, murderous aliens, infected aliens. Were they just like, all right, take me to jail, like let them cuff them? Like how do you put somebody like that in jail? Did they take him to Jurassic Park? Like,
you would think, they would have to put them behind electric fences, but no, they put them in just like a regular jail, and they seem.
Now I want to watch just for that and see how they pull that off.
It's so ridiculous, but they just had to do something because they completely shift everything to her and a new character you're introduced to who is like a rookie cop. And like he's just like completely abused and taken advantage of by like his coworkers and so you start empathizing with him more than anything. And then I won't reveal anything more about what happens to him and his character, but it goes in some definite directions that I didn't expect, and there's a scene that is just will stick with you for a long time, and it is gross.
I'm on board now, because that's really all I care about in horror movies now is just being surprised. Because I watch so many fucking terrible movies that I go, I know exactly what's going to happen. And then I just lose interest. So if you say there's a hard turn, that's going to make me want to watch it.
It is definitely not a rehash of the first. I can say that for sure. So
nice. Yeah, because that was such a, if I recall, and it's been, it was just last year, but that was such a, kind of homage to Western slashers and, in so many ways. So it's interesting to see where they would take. It just doesn't feel like a movie that, it's a movie that could have a sequel, obviously does, but it's just not a movie that you would think like, oh, they're definitely going to make a sequel.
Right. And it's not.
I remember you saying that I think it was in production last year. We talked about it, but
it was in production when we first started talking about it. And then it was coming out, it came out October 2021. So
gotcha.
I watched it, and boy, oh boy, I was happy with like what they did. It was just because like you were saying, like the first one was such an homage to Western slashers. They could have just easily followed and like done something like with the monsters, expanding or just killing new campers. It could have been, it could have been something very easy down the line. Nope. They took a real hard turn. They did something completely different, and I'll say I hope there's a 3.
Nice. So, Velociraptors.
Right.
Gotcha. Wink. I know I can smell what you're cooking. I can smell what you're cooking. All right. What do we want to talk about? We have one more on the list that I know we've both seen. Is that what we want to talk about now?
Let's wrap it up with one more that we both saw,
which is the anthology VHS 94. Were you a fan of the first VHS films?
I think I liked the first 2. I think Viral was the one that kind of lost me, that I didn't like.
Yeah.
But
first one, I remember I didn't like every single thing in the first one, but I remember a couple things I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then the second one was like, and then, I was the same way. The Viral, I was kind of lost me. But I watched this one because, it was on Shudder and it popped up or whatever, but just there was a lot of buzz around this one. Like, I feel like Viral, like, really just flew under the radar and people kind of didn't like it. And then this one, obviously, I would say this one, maybe the most popular so far. Like, it really re-energized the franchise in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think so. It definitely got a lot of buzz. And so this is a Shudder exclusive and original. Yeah. So, like, I think they had a lot of things in mind when this is definitely like resurrecting a series for people specifically in mind. Whereas I think some of the other Viral films were obviously trying to be wider releases, or, maybe even just trying to grab red box bucks, not really thinking about the films they put in. But the films that are included in this anthology definitely have like a lot of care and like, good sense to them.
Yeah, and I think this is an example of, and I don't know the exact history of the production of this movie, but some of these Shudder exclusives you can tell that they were kind of made to be Shudder exclusives, and other ones were movies that just maybe hadn't found a home and then Shudder grabbed a hold of, kind of thing, and released them as a Shudder exclusive for a period of time. They probably had some sort of, agreement for X number of months. It's going to only be on Shudder, and then it's released, more widely. But this one felt like it was a little bit more geared towards the Shudder audience. I don't know if that's accurate, but it felt that way.
Yeah, I would say like that. It was definitely like it was definitely trying to hit the people they knew that were going to get it more than anything else. And then like if it goes out, it goes out. But yeah, more so than like I don't even remember anything in Viral. Like
no, I literally couldn't remember one sequence from it. If you ask me, I do not remember anything about it. This one, I mean, the one that sticks out. Actually, oddly enough, the one I liked the most was, and I didn't even realize the name of the title until I just looked it up, which was Storm Drain, which most people would know as, as the Rat Man or Ratma. Ratma, hail Ratma. Like, that was the one that definitely feels like it got the most kind of in the social consciousness. But it was also, there was that little commercial kind of thing at the beginning that was directed and edited by Steve Kostansky, which I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize that was him as well. But, it was just such a... It was such a weird, surreal type of, story about, there was the whole like ritual aspect of it. It was like, obviously, the same kind of found footage format. But then it also had like something that felt to me a little bit like the WNUF Halloween special, where it was like a shot. It was almost like somebody had recorded a tape. I mean, you saw the behind the scenes stuff of the found footage from the cameraman, but you also saw this like actual footage that was aired too. Right. You know what I mean? Which I kind of thought was cool. And just like a really bizarre, weird monster that stuck with you. And that was probably the one I liked the most, but the one I remembered the most was the what was it called? The Subject, the Indonesian one. That was the most over the top one by far.
That one it's great. Something about it doesn't completely hit with me.
Yeah, they tried to do. I didn't love everything about it either. Yeah. I'm trying to pinpoint what I didn't love about it. I think it is. So it's definitely this kind of like futuristic sci-fi dystopian type of thing, right? And it's, instead of like a found footage, VHS tape or something, it's like this like body cam almost type of footage, right? I think what I didn't like about it is it almost felt, I think, a couple things. And again, I liked it overall, but one of the things that was like a detractor for me is it at a point it almost felt like what the fuck was that? Oh, Tokyo Gore Police, where it was just like sensory overload. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, Jesus Christ, like how much of this are we gonna do, kind of thing. And also, I think, unlike some other found footage movies where you like don't necessarily, even just the Ratma one we were talking about, where you're like, you thought the heroine was going to like survive or whatever, but then she did, but she was ultimately like part of the whole plan or whatever, so she didn't come out unscathed. This one is like, you kind of already know what happens to the protagonist, so it's like you don't have as much stakes, I guess. I don't know. The stakes aren't there because
essentially the film is this Dr. Frankenstein is trying to marry people in machine. And then he gets busted up by the local police, who are corrupt and evil, which I don't know. Like maybe I'm losing something culturally, but it's like, yeah, police are corrupt, but it's like, are they really like just this murderous about things? And
yeah, it's like North Korea style, like over the top, like militant Gestapo police force kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just a little too Gestapo-y, but I don't know. I guess maybe they would react to like seeing abominations like this. I don't know.
Yeah,
but you're seeing everything from the point of view, almost like RoboCop in that one, the one RoboCop scene. Like you're seeing everything from the point of view of like one of the doctor's victims,
right?
And then eventually it turns into like Doom, like it becomes Doom.
Yeah,
like,
it really does. It really does. Even like what he's fighting against and stuff. Yeah, it's over the top a little bit. It just becomes a little bit of that sensory overload, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. It felt like a video game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it became Wolfenstein and Doom, and just you're in first person and you're like shooting and fighting, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is fun. It works. Like there's other like full-blown movies like Hardcore Henry that do this. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. It's a fun exercise, but at the same time, like you're saying, you get overloaded a little bit. Yeah. In my mind, for whatever reason, when I think about this movie, like that movie is the one I have more like mental images of, I guess. I'm not sure why, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, because the imagery is great. It's like very visually stunning movie. I guess. Aside from like the Ratma creature, like everything else is pretty down the middle, and things that you've seen in the past, because it's vampires and zombies in the other two. So it's not. This one definitely sticks out as far as like visual stuff, but the other ones, I know. So when I look at it, I remember Empty Wake, right? That was the one with the woman who's kind of like manning the empty wake, right? She's at the funeral home, and shit starts to kind of go awry, and it does go a little bit over the top than you expect it to be. And I remember thinking that one was probably the weakest of the lot, in my mind. I did like the Terror. It was called Terror, which was about the like redneck militia folks who ultimately get fucked up by vampires. And just to touch on the Empty Wake real quickly, it reminded me of something that like should have been in Spooky Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark at night. Scary. It did feel like, because it was all in one room, and it was like you knew exactly what was going to happen. And it just was prolonging that. So it was one of these things where like what's going to happen, but the protagonist doesn't. And I don't know. There wasn't a lot going on. Again, I do like that it kind of went a little bit over the top and went like a little more like like apocalyptic almost, But I don't know. It just was, that was probably my least favorite one. Although I don't remember the first one, Holy Hell. I think Holy Hell is that's the wraparound. Yeah, that's the wraparound, right? So Storm Drain, we talked about, the Empty Wake, the Subject, and then Terror was the vampire one. So that was the wraparound. You're right. Yeah. I wholly enjoyed Terror. Like, me too. The whole just bumbling asshole militia. When the one just starts killing people with the 50 cal mounted on the truck, he's like, "Oh fuck!" and he starts shooting everybody. Just stupid people in charge of things that they shouldn't be in charge of. And they think they're like Rainbow Six or something, and they're just a bunch of fucking puds out in the woods. It's always Meal Team 6 when it comes up on Twitter, when they see just like fat schlubby dudes in with camo flak jackets on. And like there's just funny scenes of like I like when they're like casing the place that they're going to attack. Right. It's just bumbling out in public. They're just complete fucking Nimrods. It's nice. And then of course it makes it's surprising, because it does take a left turn, but also it's like when the one guy's like, "Fuck this, I'm going in," goes in Rambo style, and then he when he comes out, he just explodes. Like it's just like it takes you back a little bit. I like that one a lot too. That one actually might be tied for my favorite one. That was good. I like it a lot, and it's just it's worth watching just for that. But everything else in it. The only thing I didn't like actually was like the way the wraparound ended.
I'm trying to remember, how did the wraparound end? It's been some months.
So the whole wraparound is that you're following a SWAT, police squad through some weird. I'm like, you obviously look like going through art installations. What it looks like.
Yeah, all the screens and everything. Yeah.
And then, but like the cops stop at screens and wind up watching these horror videos,
which is kind of like, what was it? The second one where they broke into the house and they're just like watching some shit while they're breaking. It was
one of them. Yeah,
breaking and entering. So like the wraparounds in these movies have never really been strong, to be honest with you, probably, but. And then their like eyes are gouged out or whatever.
Yeah, and then the way this wraparound ends is like two of the women that were on the SWAT team were actually in charge of. Yeah, and it's just like, what? Who cares though? Like, what do you? How does that do anything?
Yeah, what's your end goal? And then also, was this like the culmination of your master plan here? Yeah. To just like get your coworkers in here and be mean to them? I know
we've got some.
It's a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit of an understatement. I mean, they gouge their eyes out. That's a little bit more than me, but yeah, it does.
We got some cops to watch some scary movies.
Oh, we did.
Time to take over the world.
Dude, what if I saw a hot girl while I was dressed cool? It's that, pretty much.
Yeah.
You can. It's a testament to how not good it was that I completely forgot how it ended. But overall, I really enjoyed the whole thing. But yeah, the wraparound was a bit of a throwaway.
Yeah. Like you said, the wraparounds on other VHS films are like not good either. I think one of them was like in a converted van that they discovered.
I remember that. Yeah. It was basically like, I mean, I get it. You're doing an anthology of found footage. That's hard. That's tough to the first one was, they just kind of, it's just been a rehash of the wraparound from the first movie.
Yeah.
So, but that's not why you watch it, unless it's body bags, and then I am 100% watching it for the wraparound. Well, excellent. Anything else? Any other films we were going to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, there's a couple other ones that definitely came out that I saw that I'm like, half and half on.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Resident Evil movie that came out.
You told me how horseshit it is, but I have not watched it.
What a fucking piece of dog poop that is.
Well, isn't it? I heard, because I remember when they announced it that they said it was going to be a little bit more tied to like Resident Evil 2, right?
So
with
it's like
Leon and Claire and
yeah, it's like they took Resident Evil 1 and 2 and tried to tell both video games at the same time with people who look nothing like as you remember from the video games.
You know what they should have done? Took Luke Wilson's cameo in Scream 2, where he is supposed to, with the hair, made him Leon, because he had Leon hair.
He could have been Leon, he could have been Chris, could have been either.
They all kind of had that
nobody
same hair.
In this looks like anybody. And like, Jill Valentine is barely kind of in the film. Yeah. And there was one like little cameo that made me like go, ooh. And it's if you know Letterkenny.
I just watched the first couple of episodes.
Yeah. So the guy Derry.
Yeah.
He is in Resident Evil as Brad the helicopter pilot. And I think he literally has one or two lines at all.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because it's like, oh hey, somebody I know, and then like he's not in the film at all.
Well, so does it take place in the mansion or in the police station? Or both?
Yes.
Now I'm very, because I was gonna say just spoil it because I'm never gonna watch it, but now it sounds so stupid I kind of want to watch it because I lived for those games when I was a kid. Like,
no, I already spoiled it. They're doing both films at the same time. They're both doing both.
Do they at least do like fan service to like the games?
Oh, there's so much fan service.
Okay, then I'm gonna watch it. I'm a sucker for that shit.
Yeah, there's so much fan service. Like if you
do they even do like some of the terrible voice acting from the first movie and stuff?
I mean, yeah, there's terrible acting.
What if they were like, guys, the performances were terrible, and they were like, yeah, but that's fan service to the first game,
right? Yeah, no, they do like the full on, like from the first game where you first encounter a zombie.
He turns around, or he's on his knees. Yeah.
Yeah, like they do that shot, right?
Yeah.
So they completely recreate that, but you're already like 40 minutes into the movie.
Oh God.
So
yeah,
it's
that's
like-
got to be in the opening scene. You've got to put that in the opening scene, or do something that happens in the opening cinema of the second game, you know, or something.
Yeah.
With a zombie in the back seat or whatever.
Yeah. There's like one effective scene I feel that's in the mansion with Chris, and it's just like one of those scenes where like everything is illuminated by gunshot.
Okay.
So
you get
it's
the
kind of
flashes of what's happening, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting scene, but otherwise, yeah, it is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Watch it if you want to see a messy bitch, but
Where is it streaming? Because if it's free, I'll watch it, but I ain't paying money for this motherfucker.
I don't know that it's free anywhere.
All right.
I don't think it is.
I'll look. Or I'll wait 2 months until it's on Tubi or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I don't know that it's free anywhere legal.
Nice. Well, we have done it. We've talked about some of our favorite movies of 2021, and I think this is a fun exercise. Maybe we'll do biannually or whatever. Which is biannually? Is that every 6 months or every 2 years?
That's every 2 years.
Yeah, okay, not biannually. What am I trying to say? Semi-annually. That's what I meant. Yes, semi-annually. No, semi-annually is every 2 weeks. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, boys and girls, is every couple times a fucking year. Get off my back. We'll talk about some of the new stuff, because it's just like you said, it's just like an embarrassment of riches in the horror genre right now, with just so many fucking cool things to watch. So, and then next time, well, wait, let me think. Next episode is gonna be our showdown, right?
No, next episode will be our announcements of what the movies we'll be watching for our showdown.
Yeah. That'll be the last one in January. I forgot there's five Mondays in January.
5 Mondays.
I forgot about all that mess. And then so next episode, tune in to hear us announce what horror comedy movies that we should talk about, or we are going to talk about. And if you have any suggestions for horror comedy movies that perhaps we have not seen that maybe will be in the running, throw them over there on the social medias. Follow us over there at Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff for Halloween is Forever. Anything else I'm forgetting?
Nope, that's about it.
That's the damn podcast. So, tune in next week to hear our suggestions. And we don't know what we're going to do next week yet, so we'll figure it out. Bye.